The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday morning in Seattle, turning the sidewalks into mirrors that reflected the gray sky above. Maya pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders, but it did little to keep out the cold that seemed to seep into her bones. The jacket had been nice once, maybe 3 years ago, but now the zipper was broken and the sleeves were frayed at the edges. Still, it was all she had. She stood across the street from the Pine Street Cafe, watching people rush in and out with their umbrellas and their expensive coffee cups. The warm glow from inside the cafe looked like something from another world, a world she used to belong to but now felt impossibly far away. Her stomach twisted with hunger, a feeling she had become too familiar with over the past few weeks. When was the last time she ate? Yesterday morning, she thought. A kind stranger had given her half a sandwich outside the library. Maya was 28 years old, though she felt much older these days. Just 4 months ago, she had been standing in front of a classroom full of eager students, teaching them about music theory and watching their faces light up when they finally understood a difficult concept. She had loved that job more than anything. Being a music teacher at Roosevelt Middle School had been her dream since she was a teenager herself. But dreams don't pay the bills when budget cuts come around. She could still remember the day the principal called her into the office. The apologetic look on his face as he explained that the school district had to let go of several teachers. The arts program was always the first to go. She had understood, even nodded politely. But inside her heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces. She told herself it would be okay. She would find another job. There were other schools, other opportunities, but then her mother got sick. The hospital bills started piling up one after another, each one more terrifying than the last. Her mother needed medication, needed care, and Maya was the only one who could help her. She used up her savings in weeks. Then came the notice from her landlord. 3 months behind on rent. She had to leave. Her car, an old Honda that had seen better days, broke down 2 weeks after she lost her apartment. The mechanic said it would cost more to fix than the car was worth. So now she walked everywhere, carrying everything she owned in a backpack that was starting to tear at the seams. Maya took a deep breath and crossed the street. The cafe had outdoor seating, even in November, with heat lamps that kept the area warm enough for the dedicated coffee drinkers who wanted to watch the city go by. She approached a table where a young couple sat, both dressed in business casual, probably on their lunch break from one of the tech companies nearby. "Excuse me," Maya said softly, her voice barely audible over the sound of rain hitting the awning above them. "I'm really sorry to bother you, but I haven't eaten in a while. Could you possibly spare some food? Anything would help." The woman looked up at her, and for a moment their eyes met. Maya saw something flicker across the woman's face. Maybe sympathy, maybe discomfort. But then the woman looked away, suddenly very interested in her phone. The man shook his head without even looking up from his laptop. "Sorry, can't help you," he muttered. Maya felt her face grow hot despite the cold. "That's okay. Thank you anyway." She moved to the next table, then the next. Each time the answer was the same. A shake of the head. A mumbled apology. Someone telling her to try the shelter on 3rd Avenue? She already knew about the shelter. She had been there last night, but it was full. They were always full. Her stomach cramped with hunger, and she felt lightheaded. When was the last time she drank water? She couldn't remember. The rain was getting heavier now, coming in sideways under the awning. She needed to get out of the weather, just for a few minutes. Maybe she could warm up a little before trying somewhere else. Maya pushed through the Cafe OPA's front door. The warmth hit her like a wave. The smell of fresh coffee and baked goods made her stomach growl so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The cafe was beautiful inside, with exposed brick walls, hanging plants, soft jazz playing from speakers somewhere overhead. Well-dressed people sat at small tables, typing on laptops or chatting with friends. No one looked up when she walked in. She moved to the side, trying to make herself small and invisible. She would just stand here for a minute, maybe 2, until she stopped shivering. Then she would leave before anyone noticed. But as she stood there, water dripping from her hair onto the polished wood floor, something caught her eye in the corner of the cafe. Positioned near the window where the afternoon light would hit it perfectly, sat a grand piano. It was gorgeous, all black and shining, the kind of instrument she had dreamed of owning when she was younger, the kind of piano her grandmother had played. Maya felt her feet moving toward it before she even realized what she was doing. Her fingers began to move unconsciously, mimicking the motions of playing, even though she was still several feet away. She could almost hear the notes in her head, could almost feel the smooth keys beneath her fingertips. She remembered learning to play on her grandmother's upright piano when she was 6 years old. Her grandmother had been so patient, guiding her small hands to the right positions, teaching her to read music like it was a secret language only they shared. "Music is magic, little one," her grandmother used to say. "It can take you anywhere, make you feel anything. Never forget that." Maya had never forgotten. She had practiced every day, even when her friends were outside playing. She had studied music in college, graduated top of her class, and then spent 5 wonderful years teaching children to love music the way she did. Some of her students had real talent. She wondered where they were now, if they were still playing, if they remembered the things she taught them. She was so lost in memory that she didn't notice the woman approaching until she spoke. "Can I help you with something?" Maya turned to find a woman in her 50s standing beside her, arms crossed, an expression on her face that was all business. The name tag pinned to her shirt read, "Patricia, Manager." The woman's eyes took in Maya's wet clothes, her worn backpack, her muddy shoes on the clean floor. "I'm sorry," Maya said quickly, taking a step back toward the door. "I was just trying to get out of the rain for a minute. I'll leave." Patricia's expression didn't change, but her eyes moved from Maya to the piano and back again. "You were looking at the piano," she said. "It wasn't a question. It's beautiful. I used to. Maya's voice trailed off. What was the point of explaining? This woman just wanted her to leave. She was probably worried Maya would drive away customers. "Hey. Patricia asked. The question surprised Maya so much that she answered honestly, "I do. I did. I was a music teacher. But I haven't played in months." She didn't add that she hadn't played since the day she lost her apartment, since the day she had to sell her keyboard to buy groceries and medicine for her mother. Patricia stared at her for a long moment, and Maya couldn't read the expression on her face. The manager seemed to be thinking about something, weighing options in her mind. The cafe buzzed with conversation around them, but in that moment, it felt like they were the only 2 people in the room. Finally, Patricia spoke, and what she said changed everything. Patricia looked at Maya for what felt like forever. The manager's eyes weren't unkind, but they weren't exactly warm either. They were the eyes of someone who had seen a lot in life, someone who had learned to be careful about who they trusted. "Can you really play?" Patricia asked again, her voice softer this time. Really play, not just a few notes here and there." Maya nodded, suddenly feeling self-conscious about her appearance. She probably looked terrible, with her wet hair plastered to her face and her clothes that hadn't been properly washed in who knows how long. "I studied piano for 20 years. Started when I was 6. I went to the University of Washington for music education. I taught middle school until—" She paused, unsure how much to share. "Until a few months ago." Something shifted in Patricia's expression. Maybe it was the mention of the university, or maybe it was the way Maya's voice changed when she talked about teaching. Whatever it was, the manager's shoulders relaxed just a little. "Wait here," Patricia said, then walked away toward the counter. Maya stood frozen by the piano, afraid to move, afraid to hope. What was happening? Was Patricia calling security? Maybe she was getting someone to escort her out. Maya glanced at the door, calculating how quickly she could leave if she needed to. But her feet wouldn't move. Something kept her rooted to that spot beside the beautiful piano. Patricia returned a minute later, the young man who looked like he couldn't be more than 22. His apron was covered in coffee stains, and he had the tired eyes of someone working a double shift. "Danny, take over the floor for a bit," Patricia told him. Then she turned back to Maya. "Come with me." Maya followed the manager through the cafe, past tables full of people who didn't even glance up from their phones and laptops. They went behind the counter where the espresso machine hissed and steamed, and into a small office that smelled like coffee beans and paperwork. Patricia gestured to a chair, and Maya sat down carefully. still clutching her backpack. The manager settled into the chair behind her desk and leaned back, studying Maya with those sharp, thoughtful eyes. "I'm going to tell you something I don't usually share with strangers," Patricia said. 10 years ago, I was where you are now. Not exactly the same, but close enough. I lost my job, lost my apartment, spent 6 months living in my car.
Hi.
Maya's eyes widened. She looked at Patricia, really looked at her, tried to imagine this put-together professional woman sleeping in a car, struggling to survive. It seemed impossible, but there was truth in Patricia's eyes. "A cafe owner named Mr. Chen gave me a chance when nobody else would," Patricia continued. "He hired me to wash dishes, even though I showed up to the interview wearing the same clothes I'd slept in. He saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself anymore. When he retired 5 years ago, he sold me this place for half of what it was worth. Said he wanted someone who understood what it meant to get a second chance." Maya felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. She blinked them back, trying to stay composed. "So here's what I'm thinking," Patricia said, leaning forward. "That piano out there? I had it delivered 3 weeks ago. Cost me a small fortune. The idea was to have live music on weekends, make this place feel special, you know? I hired a guy, paid him for 2 weeks, and he never showed up. Didn't even have the decency to call and quit. Just vanished." She paused, letting the words sink in. "I need to know if that piano was worth the money I spent on it. I need to know if it sounds as good as the dealer promised. And you need food." Patricia stood up and walked to the door. "So here's my offer. You play something for me. Just one piece. Whatever you want. If you're as good as you say you are, I'll buy you breakfast. A real breakfast, not just toast." Deal. Maya couldn't speak. Her throat had closed up with emotion. She just nodded. They walked back out into the cafe together. Patricia led her to the piano, and Maya noticed that a few people were watching now, curious about what was happening. She set her backpack down beside the bench, her hands trembling as she reached out to touch the piano for the first time. The keys were cool, smooth under her fingertips. Perfect. She sat down on the bench, and it was like coming home after a long, exhausting journey. How long had it been? 4 months? 5? It felt like a lifetime. "Take your time," Patricia said quietly, standing nearby. Maya closed her eyes and took a deep breath. What should she play? Her mind raced through hundreds of pieces she had memorized over the years. Mozart, Beethoven, Debussy, Chopin. Her grandmother's favorite had been Chopin. Specifically, the Nocturne in E-flat major. It was the piece her grandmother had played at her wedding. The piece Maya had played at her grandmother's funeral 3 years ago. Her fingers found the opening notes almost without thinking. The first soft, gentle tones floated out into the cafe, and Maya felt something unlock inside her chest. Something that had been closed tight for months suddenly opened up, and all the emotions she had been holding back came flooding through. She played the way her grandmother had taught her, with feeling, with soul. Every note carried weight. Every phrase told a story. The music spoke of loneliness and hope, of loss and beauty, of darkness and the small lights that sometimes appear when you need them most. She poured everything into it, all the fear and pain and exhaustion of the past few months, but also the memories of better times, the love she still carried for music, for teaching, for the life she used to have. The cafe had gone completely silent. Maya didn't notice at first, lost in the music. But when she played a particularly soft passage, she realized she couldn't hear any of the usual sounds. No espresso machine hissing. No conversations. No clattering of cups and plates. Nothing but the piano and the gentle patter of rain against the windows. She kept playing, her eyes still closed, traveling through the piece like she was walking through a familiar forest in the dark. She knew every turn, every rise and fall. Her fingers moved with a confidence she had forgotten she possessed. This was who she was, underneath all the struggle and the hunger and the fear. This was the part of herself she thought she had lost forever. When she reached the final notes, she let them ring out into the silence, fading slowly like the last light of sunset. Then she opened her eyes. The entire cafe was staring at her. Patricia stood nearby with her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The young man behind the counter, Danny, had stopped mid-pour, a coffee cup overflowing in his hand. An older woman at a corner table was crying openly. A businessman in an expensive suit had his phone out. Maya realized with a jolt that he was recording. Then someone started clapping. Then another person. Then everyone. The applause filled the cafe, loud and genuine and overwhelming. Maya sat frozen at the piano bench, unable to process what was happening. People were standing up. Someone was whistling. A woman shouted, "Beautiful." That was beautiful. Patricia walked over and gently touched Maya's shoulder. When Maya looked up at her, the manager was smiling through her tears. "I think," Patricia said, her voice shaky with emotion, "that piano was worth every penny. Now, let's get you that breakfast. And then you and I need to have a serious conversation about a job." Maya's world tilted. Had she heard that right? A job? She looked around at all the faces watching her, at Patricia's kind eyes. At the piano that had just given her back a piece of herself she thought was gone forever. And for the first time in months, she felt something she had almost forgotten existed. Hope. Maya sat at a corner table near the window, staring down at the plate of food in front of her. Scrambled eggs, toast with real butter, fresh fruit, and a side of bacon that was still steaming. There was also a large orange juice and a cup of hot coffee with cream. It was more food than she had seen in one place in weeks. Her hands shook as she picked up the fork. She wanted to eat slowly, to savor every bite, but her body had other ideas. The first taste of eggs made her want to cry. She had forgotten what real food tasted like, food that was warm and fresh and made with care. She forced herself to slow down, to chew properly, even though every instinct screamed at her to eat as fast as possible. Patricia sat across from her, sipping her own coffee and pretending not to watch. But Maya could feel the manager's eyes on her, kind and understanding. There was no judgment there, just patience. "When did you eat last?" Patricia asked gently. "Yesterday morning," Maya said between bites. "Someone gave me half a sandwich outside the library." Patricia nodded slowly, her lips pressed together in a thin line. She didn't say anything, just slid a blueberry muffin across the table. "For later?" she said simply. Maya carefully wrapped the muffin in a napkin and tucked it into her backpack. Later meant tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, if she could make it last. Old habits died hard as she ate. People kept walking by the table. Some smiled at her. Others nodded. A few stopped to tell her how beautiful her playing was, how it had moved them. Maya didn't know what to say to any of them. She just nodded and thanked them quietly, feeling overwhelmed and exposed. One man, wearing jeans and a tech company hoodie, stopped by the table and looked at Patricia. "Is she going to play again?" he asked. "That was incredible. I've never heard anything like it." "Maybe," Patricia said, glancing at Maya. "We'll see." After the man walked away, Patricia leaned forward. "His name is Kevin. He comes in here every Tuesday and Thursday, always orders the same thing, always sits in the same spot. I've never seen him talk to anyone before today." "That's what your music did." Maya set down her fork, her appetite suddenly gone, even though half the food remained. "I don't understand what's happening," she said quietly. "Why are you being so nice to me?" Patricia smiled, but it was a sad kind of smile. "Because I remember what it feels like to be invisible. To walk past 100 people and have every single one of them look right through you like you don't exist. Mr. Chen didn't look through me. He saw me, and now I'm looking at you, and I see someone who deserves a chance." "You mentioned a job," Maya said. Afraid to hope but unable to stop herself, "I did." Patricia pulled out her phone and tapped on the screen a few times. "Here's what I'm thinking. The piano is just sitting there most of the time. I open at 6 in the morning, close at 8 at night. What if you played here? Not all day, that would be exhausting. But maybe during lunch rush, 11 to 2, and then again during the evening, 5 to 7. Maya's heart started beating faster. "You want me to play piano here? Like, as a job?" "Exactly like a job." With a paycheck, Patricia named an hourly rate that made Maya's eyes go wide. It wasn't a fortune, but it was more than she had made as a teacher. Plus tips. People around here are generous when they're moved by something. And trust me, after what I just saw, they're going to be moved. I don't know what to say, Maya whispered. Say yes, Patricia replied. But there's more. I can't have you living on the street and working for me. It's not right, and honestly, you need stability. I have a small apartment above the cafe. It's nothing fancy, just a studio with a bathroom and a tiny kitchen. The last tenant moved out a month ago, and I'd been meaning to list it. It's yours if you want it. I'll take the rent out of your paycheck, a reasonable amount. You'll still have plenty left over. Maya couldn't speak. The words stuck in her throat, tangled up with emotions she couldn't name. An apartment. Job. Playing piano again? It was too much, too good, too impossible. Why? She finally managed to ask. You don't even know me. Patricia was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at the rain. My daughter would have been about your age, she said softly. Would have been. She died when she was 19. Car accident. She played piano too, not as well as you, but she loved it. Every time she sat down to play, her whole face would light up. She turned back to Maya, and her eyes were bright with unshed tears. When I saw you looking at that piano, I saw that same expression, like you were looking at something precious that you'd lost. I couldn't just turn you away. Now Maya was crying too, tears running down her face and dripping onto her plate. I'm so sorry, she said. About your daughter. Me too, Patricia said, wiping her own eyes. Every single day. But maybe this is how I honor her memory. By helping someone who loves music the way she did. By giving someone the chance I wish she'd had to grow old and keep playing. They sat in silence for a while, two women who had both lost so much, finding an unexpected connection over breakfast in a cafe while rain drummed against the windows. Finally, Maya took a shaky breath. Okay, she said. Yes, I'll do it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Patricia smiled. A real smile this time that reached her eyes. Good. When can you start? Now. Maya said, then laughed at herself. I mean, whenever you need me. How about tomorrow? Patricia suggested. That gives you today to move into the apartment, get settled, maybe take a shower, and rest. You look exhausted. Maya nodded. She was exhausted. Bone deep, soul tired, exhausted. Patricia stood up and pulled out a set of keys from her pocket. Let me show you your new place. They went through a door at the back of the cafe that led to a narrow staircase. Maya followed Patricia up to the second floor, her backpack heavy on her shoulders. At the top of the stairs, Patricia unlocked a door and pushed it open. The apartment was small, just like Patricia had said. But to Maya, it looked like a palace. There was a bed with clean white sheets, a tiny kitchen with a refrigerator and a stove, a bathroom with a shower, a window that looked out over the street. It was warm and dry and safe. It's perfect, Maya said, her voice breaking. There's some basic stuff in the kitchen. Coffee, bread, eggs, that kind of thing. The Wi-Fi password is on the fridge. Washer and dryer are in the basement. You can use them anytime. Patricia handed her the keys. This is yours now. I'll come get you tomorrow morning around 10, show you how everything works downstairs, introduce you to the staff properly. After Patricia left, Maya stood in the middle of the apartment, unable to move. She was afraid that if she moved, if she blinked, the whole thing would disappear like a dream. But it didn't disappear. The apartment stayed solid and real around her. She walked to the bathroom and looked at herself, in the mirror for the first time in days. She barely recognized the person staring back. Hollow eyes, tangled hair, skin pale from lack of sun and food. But underneath all that, she could still see herself. Maya, the music teacher, the pianist. The person who still existed despite everything. She turned on the shower and stepped under the hot water. Fully clothed at first because she couldn't wait to feel clean. Then she peeled off her dirty clothes and stood there, letting the water wash away weeks of dirt and fear and desperation. She cried in that shower, deep sobs that came from somewhere ancient inside her. But they weren't sad tears anymore. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope. That night, lying in a real bed for the first time in months, Maya thought about everything that had happened. She had walked into that cafe, just asking for food, expecting nothing. And somehow, impossibly, she had found so much more. She fell asleep thinking about tomorrow, about sitting at that beautiful piano again, about playing music for people who wanted to listen, about starting over, about coming back to life. Maya woke up the next morning to sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The cafe, Patricia, the piano, the apartment. She sat up in bed and looked around, half expecting it all to vanish. Everything was still there, real, solid. She checked the time on an old clock by the bed. 8:30. Patricia had said she'd come at 10. That gave Maya time to shower again, to put on the cleanest clothes she had, to try to look presentable. She wanted to make a good impression on her first real day. When Patricia knocked on the door at exactly 10 o'clock, Maya was ready. Nervous, but ready. "How did you sleep?" Patricia asked as they walked down the stairs together. "Better than I have in months," Maya admitted. "I forgot what it felt like to not be afraid." The cafe was already busy with the morning crowd. Danny was behind the counter, moving quickly between the espresso machine and the register. 2 other employees Maya hadn't met yet were handling orders and cleaning tables. The piano sat in its corner waiting. Patricia introduced her to the team. There was Danny, who she'd met yesterday. Then Rosa, a woman in her 40s who had worked at the cafe for 6 years and had a laugh that could fill the whole room. And finally Tyler, a college student who worked mornings before his afternoon classes. "Everyone, this is Maya," Patricia announced. "She's our new pianist. Treat her like family." Rosa immediately pulled Maya into a hug. "That was you playing yesterday, wasn't it?" "Girl, you made me cry into my latte." "My mascara was everywhere." Maya couldn't help but smile. These people were warm and welcoming in a way she hadn't experienced in so long. It felt good. It felt like maybe she could belong here. Her first set was scheduled to start at 11. As the time approached, Maya felt butterflies in her stomach. Yesterday had been different. Yesterday she was just a desperate person playing for food. Today, she was an employee. People would expect things from her. What if she wasn't good enough? What if yesterday was just a fluke? But when she sat down at the piano and her fingers touched the keys, all the worry melted away. She started with something light and cheerful, a Mozart sonata that danced and sparkled. People looked up from their laptops. Conversations quieted. Within minutes, she had their attention. She played for 2 hours straight, moving between classical pieces and jazz standards, even throwing in a few movie themes that made people smile with recognition. When she finished her set at 1 o'clock, there was applause, and several people dropped money into the tip jar that Patricia had placed on top of the piano. Maya counted it later. $73. For 2 hours of doing what she loved, that became her routine. 11 to 2, then 5 to 7. 6 days a week. Within a few days, word started to spread. The cafe got busier. People came specifically to hear her play. They'd sit with their coffee, working or reading or just listening. Maya would lose herself in the music. On her 4th day, something unexpected happened. A man named Kevin, the tech worker who had asked if she'd play again, approached her during her break. He was holding his phone and looking excited. "Hope this is okay," he said, "but I recorded you playing that first day. The Chopin piece. I posted it online and it's kinda going crazy." Maya's heart skipped. "You posted it where?" "Just on social media. I didn't think much of it at first, but people keep sharing it. It has like 50,000 views now." He showed her his phone. There she was on the screen, sitting at the piano, completely lost in the music. The video had been taken from across the cafe, so you couldn't see her face clearly, just her silhouette and her hands moving over the keys. The caption read, "A homeless woman walked into a cafe asking for food. Instead, she gave us all something we didn't know we needed." Maya felt her stomach drop. 50,000 people had watched her. 50,000 strangers had seen her at her lowest moment. "I'm sorry, Kevin said quickly, seeing her expression. I should have asked first. I can take it down if you want. Maya didn't know what to say. Part of her felt exposed, vulnerable, but another part felt something else. The comments under the video were overwhelming. People from all over the world writing about how the music had moved them, how it had made them cry, how it had reminded them of someone they loved, how it had given them hope. No, she said finally. Don't take it down. It's okay. But it wasn't just okay. Over the next few days, the video kept growing. 100,000 views. Then 500,000. Then 1 million. News websites picked it up. Local TV stations called the cafe asking for interviews. Patricia fielded the calls, protecting Maya's privacy. But the attention kept building. People started showing up at the cafe just to see if the woman from the video was real. The place was packed from opening to closing. Patricia had to hire 2 more employees just to keep up. And through it all, Maya played. She played because it was her job. She played because she loved it. She played because music was the one thing that had never abandoned her. One afternoon during her break, a woman approached her. She was in her 30s, well-dressed, with kind eyes. Maya? The woman said hesitantly. I don't know if you remember me. I'm Christine. I was in your music class at Roosevelt Middle School. You taught my son, Leo. Maya searched her memory. Leo, a quiet kid with dark hair who had struggled with rhythm, but loved the piano anyway. I remember Leo, she said. How is he? He's good. He's still playing, actually. Because of you. Christine's eyes filled with tears. When I saw the video, I couldn't believe it. My husband and I had been wondering what happened to you. The school just said you'd left. We never got to say thank you. Thank you for what? Maya asked, confused. For believing in Leo when nobody else did? For staying after class to help him practice? For telling him that music wasn't about being perfect. It was about feeling something real. Christine pulled out her phone. He wanted me to show you this. It was a video of a teenage boy playing piano in what looked like a living room. He was good, really good, and he was playing with the same passion Maya tried to teach all her students. When the video ended, Christine was crying openly. That's because of you, she said. You changed his life. And when I posted about seeing you, about how you were the teacher from the video, other parents started reaching out. So many of them. They all want to help. Maya didn't understand. Help with what? Christine smiled. Everything. They've started a fundraiser. To say thank you for everything you did for their kids. Maya, they've raised over $30,000 in 2 days. The words didn't make sense. $30,000? For her? They want to help pay your mother's medical bills, Christine continued, and help you get back on your feet. These are families whose kids you taught, whose lives you touched. They never forgot you. Maya couldn't breathe. She thought of all those children she'd taught over the years, the shy ones she'd encouraged, the loud ones she'd channeled into music, the struggling ones she'd stayed late to help. She'd never expected anything in return. She'd just loved teaching them. I don't know what to say, Maya whispered. You don't have to say anything, Christine said, pulling her into a hug. You already gave us so much. Now let us give something back. That evening, Maya sat at the piano and played with tears streaming down her face. She played for her students, for the families who hadn't forgotten her, for Patricia and her daughter who never got to grow old, for everyone who had ever felt lost and found their way. Back through music, the cafe was completely silent, except for the piano. And in that silence, Maya understood something she'd never fully grasped before. She'd spent years teaching children that music could change lives. She just never realized how many lives she'd actually changed, or that someday those same children would save her right back. 6 months had changed everything. Maya stood in front of the mirror in her apartment, adjusting the collar of her new dress. It was simple but nice, the kind of dress she used to wear when she had a regular life. Her hair was clean and styled. Her face had color in it again. She looked healthy. She looked alive. Through the window, she could see the line of people already forming outside the cafe, even though it wouldn't open for another hour. This had become normal now. Every day, people came from all over the city, sometimes from other states, just to hear her play. The cafe had become something more than a coffee shop. It had become a gathering place, a spot where people came to feel something real in a world that often felt too fast and too cold. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from her mother. "So proud of you, Mia. Feeling stronger every day. The new medication is working." Maya smiled, blinking back tears. The fundraiser from her former students' families had covered all of her mother's medical bills and then some. Her mother was getting the treatment she needed, seeing the specialists who could actually help her. For the first time in a year, her mother's voice on the phone sounded hopeful instead of tired and scared. There was a knock at the door. Patricia poked her head in, grinning. "You ready? They're waiting for you downstairs." They were a reporter and camera crew from a national morning show. They wanted to do a story about the viral video, about the cafe, about second chances. Maya had said no to dozens of interview requests over the past months, but this one felt different. This one felt like maybe her story could help someone else who was struggling. Downstairs, the cafe buzzed with activity. Rosa was training a new hire, showing her how to make the complicated drink orders. Tyler was restocking the pastry case. Danny was at the register, chatting easily with a regular customer. And in the corner, the piano waited. The reporter was a woman named Jennifer, with a warm smile and intelligent eyes. She shook Maya's hand and gestured to the chairs they'd set up near the piano. "Thank you so much for agreeing to this," Jennifer said. "Your story has touched millions of people." They talked for almost an hour. Maya told her story, the whole thing. Losing her job, her mother getting sick, becoming homeless, walking into the cafe that rainy day, just looking for food. She talked about Patricia's kindness, about playing the piano again, about the video going viral. She didn't leave out the hard parts or try to make it sound prettier than it was. "What do you want people to know?" Jennifer asked toward the end. "People who are watching this, and maybe going through their own struggles?" Maya thought about that question. She thought about all the nights she'd spent on the street, believing she was invisible, believing nobody cared. She thought about the moment Patricia saw her, really saw her, and offered her a chance. "I want them to know that one moment can change everything," Maya said slowly. "One person's kindness can be the difference between giving up and holding on. And I want them to know that who you are doesn't disappear just because your circumstances change. I was still a musician even when I didn't have a piano. I was still a teacher even when I didn't have a classroom. The hard times don't erase who you really are." After the interview, after the cameras were packed up and Jennifer promised the piece would air next week, Maya sat at the piano for her regular 11 o'clock set. The cafe was completely full. Every seat taken. People standing along the walls. She recognized so many faces now. Kevin, who came every Tuesday and Thursday without fail. An elderly couple who always requested Gershwin. A young mother who brought her daughter in on Saturdays and let the little girl sit cross-legged on the floor, mesmerized by the music. But today there were new faces too. She spotted Christine sitting near the window with a teenage boy who had to be Leo. He was taller now, almost grown up, but she recognized him. He gave her a shy wave and she waved back, her heart full. She began to play, and like always, the world fell away. There was only the music, only the conversation between her hands and the keys. Only the invisible thread that connected her to every person listening. She played Chopin, the same nocturne she'd played that first day, but it felt different now. Then, it had been about pain and loss and desperation. Now, it was about gratitude and hope and coming home. During her break, Leo approached with Christine beside him. He was nervous, fidgeting with his hands. "Ms. Maya," he said quietly, "I just wanted to say thank you. For everything you taught me. For not giving up on me when I was struggling." "You were never struggling," Maya told him gently. "You were learning. There's a difference." "I'm going to study music in college," Leo said, his voice getting stronger. "I got accepted to Berkeley. I want to be a teacher like you someday." Maya had to fight to keep her composure. This boy, this quiet kid, who used to practice the same measure over and over until he got it right, was going to one of the best music schools in the country because she'd believed in him, because she'd stayed after class and told him he could do it. "You're going to be amazing," she said, and meant it. After they left, Patricia came over and sat down beside her. "You know what's wild?" Patricia said. 6 months ago, this place was just a cafe. Nice, but nothing special. Now look at it." They both looked around. The cafe was alive with energy, with community. People weren't just buying coffee anymore. They were connecting. Strangers struck up conversations. Artists set up in the corners to sketch or write. Book clubs met here. First dates happened here. All because of the music, yes, but also because of what the music represented. Hope. Second chances. The possibility that things could get better. "I've been thinking about something," Maya said. "What if we did more?" "More?" Patricia raised an eyebrow. "What if we started a program? Free music lessons for kids who can't afford them. Especially kids who are going through hard times. Kids in shelters, kids in foster care, kids whose families are struggling." The idea had been forming in Maya's mind for weeks. "I could teach some of the classes. We could find other musicians who want to help. Use the space here when we're closed, or find a community center." Patricia's eyes lit up. "My daughter would have loved that idea." "I know," Maya said softly. "That's why I thought of it." They spent the rest of Maya's break planning, ideas flowing fast and excited. They'd call it the Second Chance Music Project. They'd start small, just a few students, and grow from there. Maya still had money left from the fundraiser. Patricia knew people in the community who might donate instruments. It could work. It would work. That evening, during her final set of the day, Maya looked out at the sea of faces and felt overwhelmed by how far she'd come. 6 months ago, she'd walked through those doors, broken and hungry and hopeless. She'd asked for food, nothing more. Just enough to survive one more day. But Patricia had seen something in her that day. Had recognized a fellow survivor, someone who deserved a chance to rebuild, and that one act of kindness had set off a chain reaction that was still expanding, still touching lives in ways Maya was only beginning to understand. She played the final notes of her set, a gentle melody that seemed to hang in the air like a question and an answer all at once. The applause washed over her, warm and genuine, and she stood to take a small bow as people filed out into the evening. Some stopped to thank her, to tell her what the music meant to them. An older man said her playing reminded him of his late wife. A young woman said the cafe had become her refuge during a difficult divorce. A teenager said he was learning piano now because of her. Each story was a gift. Each connection was proof that music did exactly what her grandmother had promised all those years ago. It took you places. It made you feel things. It connected you to other human souls in ways that words never could. After the cafe closed, Maya helped Rosa and Danny clean up. She wiped down tables and stacked chairs, ordinary tasks that felt extraordinary because they were part of her real life now, her life with purpose and stability and hope. Before heading upstairs, she sat at the piano one more time in the quiet, empty cafe. She didn't play anything elaborate, just a simple melody, something her grandmother used to hum while cooking. A lullaby, really. A song about coming home. She thought about everything that had led her to this moment. The losses and the struggles, yes, but also the unexpected kindnesses. The strangers who became friends. The students who never forgot her. The manager who saw her humanity when everyone else looked away. Maya understood. Now that she hadn't just walked into a cafe looking for food that rainy day, she'd walked into the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter about resilience and community in the strange, beautiful ways that lives intersect and save each other. She locked up the cafe and climbed the stairs to her apartment, tired but content. Tomorrow she'd play again. Tomorrow, more people would come seeking something they couldn't quite name. Something that sounded like hope and felt like belonging, and she would give it to them. One note at a time, the way it had been given to her, because that's what music did. That's what kindness did. That's what second chances did. They fed the soul.